My name is Divyang and I'm a business manager working for Haze Technology in Ireland. And I'm joined today by Kripa Krishnan, a director of business system analysis and product development with Optum RX. And Kripa comes with around 20 years of experience in the tech space. So thank you for joining us, Kripa. Welcome to the episode of Haze Technology.
Pleasure being here. Thank you for the invitation, Divyang.
I know you've been really busy, especially in the last 2 weeks because of the product launch and the next parts of it. But yes, really appreciate that you were able to make this conversation, and I'm delighted. And yes, the episode is going to be more about your career from start and how you became a leader and the kind of technology you have implemented, especially being in Optum, and the inspiration you'll be bringing, especially to our audience. So jumping into our first question, Kripa, what made you decide to pursue a career in IT, and what makes you love it so much?
So I had a very typical upbringing of a very 80s, 90s kid in India. When you finish your leaving cert, you go in to do your engineering. But as I was doing my engineering, the Y2K boom was happening. So it was very evident that I needed to complement my engineering skills with computing skills. So I embraced programming and technology at that stage. Now, I didn't want to stop there. I then went on to complete my master's. I completed my MBA. Now, in all of this, it's been about learning and learning more. And up until then, my life was a well-scripted story. But then that's when life happened. I got married and I moved with my husband. I moved from Chennai to kind of freezing temperatures in Derryland in Derry in Northern Ireland. That was sort of my first experience when life has its own, course of action. But I was, undeterred. As soon as I came to Derry, I knew I had to get on to build my career. That was my first priority. So what I did was I found an IT graduate program. I enrolled in it. It had a bit of mainframe COBOL training. Believe me, that's where I started.
Wow.
It was very interesting because it was a group of young folks who had just finished college. They came on board as a group.
Yes.
We went through the training, and at the end of it, I was lucky to be offered the job in Allstate. It was a real coincidence that I was joining a brand new team.
Mm-hmm.
So the next part of the surprise was my first official working day was in the home office in Chicago. So in a space of 6 months, I moved from Chennai to Derry, and then I'm sitting there in home office in Chicago, my first official working day as a career woman. It was a lot to take in, but I soon realized that learning and embracing learning is the most important thing you can do every step of the way. Mainframe or COBOL was not something I was very privy to earlier. I was here to do cool stuff, Java, .NET, cool stuff. But even embracing learning in COBOL and mainframe, it lays really strong foundations for your, logical thinking. It might resonate with you, but when you're doing your engineering, one thing that fascinated me was a subject called digital signal processing. And there's a concept of butterfly diagrams. And
Wow.
when you're doing that, right, it's like a bizarre concept. It's very hard to grasp. And you spend a lot of time trying to grasp that concept. And when you think of it now, why did I learn that? It was building my logical thinking. It was building the way I would process any information and how I get out of it. That's a very key skill that we need to embrace as a person and keep building on it. So learning was one of my primary focus, and I was not afraid to take on responsibility. I was very happy to take on new responsibilities, take on new work, and my team leader at the time very, very supportive. He recognized that, okay, here's somebody who was eager and enthusiastic about learning. So they created opportunities for me to, kind of start building my career. So it was great start for me, a really, really good start. But what really comes to the point is, we all think that, and young kids think that career in IT is about sitting in a corner, you're sitting in front of a computer and kind of typing away, coding away. But there's a lot more fun than just coding. You meet people and you get to understand the business. There is a huge range of opportunities that come up as you learn. But when you have a complex problem and you solve it, the high that you get out of it and the learning you get out of it, I think that's the most interesting part for me. And that's why I love what I do so much.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's so great to know that your journey from Chennai to Delhi, and then obviously your first day in Chicago, which was brilliant. And you build your career out of instead of Java, and the fancy languages, it was COBOL and mainframe, and then obviously now you're working for Optum. So why the Republic of Ireland? Like, why did you move down from Delhi to Dublin, and how did you hear about Ireland, and what made you land a job in here?
Yeah, again, life happens, right? My first job in Delhi, I had a really interesting career. I grew from a graduate program trainee, a system analyst, and I grew to a team leader. And I felt that it was important to spread my wings.
Yes.
One of the key aspects, as a family, we had gotten really comfortable in Delhi. Way too comfortable, and I felt that growth or change is not at the same pace when you are in a comfortable space. It's only when you move out of your comfort zone, it's only when you lean into the discomfort, that's when growth happens. So as a family, we had made the decision that we had to move. Then it was about, where do we go? Now, given the IT boom in Ireland, in the face of Brexit happening in UK and so on, it sounded the more logical, and even logistically, it was just down the road. So it was a natural move to Dublin. It just was convenient. Change can be really hard on you, so you want to take small steps as we go along. So hence Ireland.
That's Ireland. No, that's good to know as well. But obviously, you mentioned it's down the road. It's logistically it was convenient as well. But there's nothing without challenges. Nothing comes where there are some certain barriers as well. So what were the challenges which you faced initially when you moved to Ireland, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Yeah. We were prepared for facing challenges. So I think one aspect of any movement is be prepared. Don't think that it is going to be easy. Face that yes, there will be challenges. That's half the battle.
Right.
Then you figure out how to solve it. Now, if you think of the time that of my career, 2 young kids who were in primary, they were still in school in Derry, and I was doing the commute between Dublin and Derry every week. Now, you can think of that as a challenge, but once you accept it, you just get on with it.
Right.
You put in a system and you get on with it. Now, as anybody who's come to Ireland, where do I stay? How do I find a house? Where will my kids study? Those were all your challenges that kind of haunt you. But once you get that settled, and I had fantastic colleagues who took their time out, who really made time for me to make me comfortable in the move. That was really really refreshing to see, because I was a newbie there, and there was no need for my colleagues to be to go out of their way. So really fantastic colleagues who came and helped me. Now that's on the home front. I had joined a team, and that team was going through another restructure just as I joined.
Right.
And normal tendency is panic. But I just kind of put my head down, took one day at a time, and what that did was really create an opportunity for me to be to be involved in product development.
Right.
That's what created an opportunity for me to go to the team in UK and really work on a product, a fantastic team, and that kind of changed the way I approached work, the way I approach life in a very significant way. So you asked about challenges. There are, you have your normal challenges, right? But the way to focus on challenges is first accept that yes, it's going to be challenging.
Yes.
That's half the battle. You will find a way.
Yes.
Nothing is impossible in this world. You will always find a way.
Yes. That's really inspirational as well, that you have to accept that it's a challenge, and then you have to know that, okay, there will be a solution. It can't be solved. You just have to have the right mindset.
Absolutely.
That is brilliant.
Yeah.
And of course, the way you moved to Optum, you worked in Optum UK as well and started working on the own product. So it brings me to the next question, Kripa, is how did you move into product leadership?
So product leadership, means different things to different organizations, but on a very high level, and this is where, this is what I believe in, is anybody who is in the tech organization, the most important thing for them is to understand the why behind what they're doing. Like, you can bring in the best of technologies, you can bring in the best of programmers, but articulating to them clearly as to why are you doing this, and what is the expectation what's the outcome from what you're doing, is probably the most important thing and the most motivating thing for any programmer. So when I moved to the UK, the team was very dispersed. We had team members all over the UK, there was team members in India. It was a fairly large team, but the one way to kind of unite them was a product vision. So that concept really, it really inspired me to bring that vision to the team. Now, I was sitting on the technology, space when I moved to the team in UK. It was a technology role, but being close to the product and really understanding the why behind it, as Simon Sinek would always say, start with the why. So any conversation, I would have said, this is why we're doing this, and even the most difficult, challenging, aspect, can be solved. Like I said, anything can be solved as long as we understand the why.
Yes.
That's what really attracted me to product leadership, and from there on, I started building my affinity towards products, both in the professional and personal front. So it was everything was sort of in the product mindset. That's how I got into product leadership.
So it's a really interesting journey. Connecting the dots again, starting from Chennai, then Delhi, Chicago, Dublin, UK, building on a product, and obviously now into product leadership. You're working as a director with Optum RX, which is brilliant. That's been an amazing journey. So just to again, reflect on your journey, and obviously what you would advise to people who are coming from, especially outside of Ireland, who are trying to build their career in Ireland in the tech industry, and people who are trying to become a leader as well. So what would be your advice to them?
Yeah, no, anybody who's coming into the tech industry, focus on the learning.
Okay.
Change is going to be the constant. That is the most important thing. Focus on the learning. Embrace change gracefully.
Yes.
Now, if you're moving countries, one of the good things would be to find a mentor or somebody in the organization who can actually help you navigate not just the organizational culture, but even generally outside, just what does living in Ireland look like? Because I can give you an example. Somebody who's been working in India, with all the pressures of timelines and everything, if you come here to Ireland, and on a Friday evening, it's a very relaxed environment here.
Yeah.
For somebody who's come from India to come to Ireland and see that relaxed environment on a Friday afternoon, it's sometimes uncomfortable as well.
Mhm.
But it is a change. Understand the motivation.
Right.
Ireland is all about work hard, play hard. That's the attitude of
That's
the
the
folks
attitude.
here.
Yes.
So that's one thing. Find somebody who can really help you navigate
Mhm.
the organization. That's one. Another aspect that I would say is you get opportunities when you put your hand up and say, yeah, I'd like to give that a go. Let me try. You might set expectations and say, I know I haven't done this before, but I think I have the right skills. If I get a little bit of a support, I'm happy to try.
Right.
That type of a conversation is a progressive conversation.
Mhm.
So as a person coming from not just coming into Ireland but anywhere, I think that's a really good way of taking on extra responsibilities.
Yes.
That's where growth happens, and build your connections along the way.
Right.
Don't live in a silo. Build your
Yes.
connections. Talk to people. Peoples and connections is what will help you move
Yes.
forward and grow. And one thing that I always tell my team is have a little bit of fun.
Yes. So important.
Life is too short. Have a little bit of fun along the way.
Mhm.
Work really hard, but make sure you have time for yourself. Move often. Have a bit of fun, and that's very important.
Yes.
That's for somebody who's probably just starting out. One of the interesting things that I have seen in Ireland and compared to the view that would have been in India is, and many other countries, there's always a hierarchy. So
Yes.
if your manager is talking as a junior employee, you don't say much. And that hierarchy exists in a lot of places. But when I came to Ireland, it was purely refreshing. Your input, your skills, at no matter what level you are, is
Mhm.
always very welcome.
Right.
That's a huge benefit of working in Ireland, and I've been lucky as well that my colleagues, my leaders have always invited my input, even as a junior employee. But I think that's something that you will see, which is very refreshing, is that this the hierarchical aspect, it's very rare to be seen.
Right.
Your input, your skills are very valued, and you will feel valued in your views. So don't be afraid to speak up.
Right.
That's another aspect. So those would be the things that I would say anybody who wants to come over and start a
Start
career.
the career. Even if they are already living here and looking to build a career in the tech space, or let's say as a matter of fact, when we are looking at the cultural side as well, if they're trying to build their career in any industry, I think it's important to know.
It's very relevant.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So just bringing back again to the cultural part, and obviously the things you love about Ireland. So what are the things which you love, and how do you see, especially from the technology point of view, that what would you love, and the future of tech in Ireland, where you see it progressing? Because from what I've heard, the economy is still progressing, and there are a lot of investments going on in the country. So what do you think? How is the future looking, and obviously what do you love?
I mean, I love the people of Ireland. I have to say that, and that's official because I've been here 20 years. The people that I have worked with, people that I've interacted with, they have kept me back.
Yeah.
So that's something it's a great strength to Ireland, and they have a very balanced approach to life. Like I said, work hard, play hard, and you will find when you're faced with biggest of challenges, colleagues or even your leaders will come up to you. As long as you're moving forward, it'll all work out in the end.
It'll all work out in the end.
That's the attitude that they come with. So I love the way they have a very grounded approach.
Right.
Slow and steady. That's their approach. Now, from a technology perspective, the work in data is just booming. I mean, the talent that we have in the data space, it's just amazing. And as the world is moving on, there is so much There's so much we could do with data.
Exactly.
So we're sitting on a landmine of talent in the technology space, and I would say in the last maybe 10 years is where that boom in the data talent has happened in Ireland. So over these years, the team members in Ireland have gained so much business knowledge that it's only going to grow from here.
Right.
We've done a lot of work in data. That is only going to increase.
Yes.
And we are not afraid to embrace new technology. Like you talk about artificial intelligence, companies have already embraced it and implemented some of those things. So it's very easy in Ireland to kind of embrace that type of change.
Right.
And really push the mantle forward. Really push forward. So really exciting times for the technology space in Ireland. There's a lot of learning in data that happens.
Yeah.
But then the next level coming with artificial intelligence, it's just it's going to look really, really interesting. I feel.
Yeah, that's really good, great, and because obviously there is artificial intelligence is there to help us. But then we need people to maintain the artificial intelligence aspect as well. Like it does work in a certain way, but there would be someone who's going to supervise it, and there's so much more work required in the background.
Yeah.
Usually you would not know about it, but it's good to see that if that is being implemented as well, the future of tech is still progressing, which is absolutely brilliant. And it's great to see that you have such a positive outlook towards the tech industry and the future. But again, on a lighter note, what I wanted to know is now it's been 20 years for you in Ireland, but I'm pretty sure you still miss home. So what's the thing that you miss the most? It could be the culture, people, food, for example.
Yeah, I mean, who can say no to chat, right?
Yes.
Of course, I miss my family. My family is all back home. All my friends are back home. Technology has made it easy to stay in touch. So I'm always in conversation with them. So I don't feel that they are too far away. I feel that they know what's happening day to day in life. So I do miss them, but I guess one of the things that I do miss is the sun. Of course, today is a sunny day, so it's great. The sun, the colors, the vibrant colors of India, that makes my heart kind of really feel warm, and it just lifts my spirit. I love the colors. And of course, the food. The street food in India. It is very, very.
So anyone who has actually not tried it, they need to try it once in their life.
Definitely.
It's so good. It's so
highly recommend.
Perfect. So I know that homes is a million miles away, and obviously we are connected to home in some way or the other. But living in a different country, how has the ethnicity, how has that part, and obviously you being a female starting from 20 years back when things were very different, how has that impacted you and especially your tech career in Ireland, or I'd say Europe as a matter of fact?
It's a very interesting question, and I've thought about it quite often. And when I reflect on my career, maybe I've been lucky, and I've heard stories of how people have been not being able to progress because of their ethnicity, of their gender. But I've been very lucky. I've been supported by really strong leaders who saw beyond the gender and the ethnicity. They valued me for the skills that I brought to the team. For example, my first leadership role as a team manager, it was a bunch of lads. If I may say so, there was at one point there was about 20, men on the team, and I was the only female, but I was their leader. But what I brought to the table, brought respect for them, and they respected me back. The trust that we built together, it was really engaging. So, when I reflect back on my career, I think no matter where you go, there'll be some sort of a bias.
Right.
It could be anything. It could be gender. It could be ethnicity. It could be your color, whatever. Right. There will be a bias at some stage, but don't be deterred by that. That's not what defines you. Your skills, your talent, your personality, your attitude to life, that's what defines you.
Yes.
And yes, it might be a slightly difficult to break barriers of ethnicity and so on, but don't be deterred by that.
Yes.
Your talent will definitely shine through. I'm a firm believer of that, and I think it starts with us believing in that way,
Right.
and then moving forward in the right. Moving forward is so important.
Exactly.
Make small steps but move forward.
Yes.
That is important.
Absolutely. Yes. A good point about breaking barriers as well, and understanding that how you can impact by your being confident on your skills, and of course working in a place like Ireland where the culture is so diverse and people are so supportive. I think it's so motivational to work in any sort of industry in here. So that's why I love it as well.
Yeah.
It's one of the things which I always look forward to. So what are some of the things which you have learned from your experiences, especially working in, of course, in Ireland, Derry, and of course Dublin?
Yeah. As a leader, one thing that you would see is nothing is black or white.
Mm-hmm.
There's always perspectives. So be ready to, understand the different perspectives, either of people, of business, of infrastructure, whatnot. There's always different perspectives to any problem. And one thing that kind of, as a leader, I've always tried to do is get comfortable with ambiguity.
Right, good point.
When you get comfortable with ambiguity, and similar to what I was saying, accept that it is a challenge. Accept that this is going to be ambiguous. But your role as a leader is to move from that ambiguous situation and bring clarity to the team.
Right.
So, in product development, for example, you get a vision, and it could be huge.
Yes.
Hugely ambiguous. But your role as a leader is to break that down into smaller portions and bring clarity to the for the team. That is one of the important things as a leader. In my view, the second most important thing is to create an environment of growth within the team.
Right.
If your team member feels that they don't have an opportunity to grow, you will never get the best out of them.
Right.
So create an environment where they have the ability to grow, identify their talents. And I fondly recollect in one of my teams, I had a business analyst who came along. She was hungry for work, she was hungry for growth and success, and the circumstances were such that I was able to identify an opportunity for her to become a product owner.
Right.
And I knew I would have to put in a lot of effort to build her career, but I was able, I was ready to make that investment because I saw that this person had the potential. And 2 years later, she's a senior product manager in a big organization. I think as a leader, something like that, and being able to influence other people's careers, to take them to places where they probably didn't think of. I think that's very fulfilling.
Yes.
Fulfilling as a leader. And some of the other things that I always think of is don't get comfortable where you are.
Right.
Be proactive to look for your change.
Right.
It's a lesson I've learned from my own career. I spent 14 years in Allstate, and I've always kind of had different roles. I've done different things. That has helped me grow, and I'm always sort of looking to learn and grow. Learn new things and grow. That's I think that's the best thing that you can do for yourself in your career.
Yes, that's brilliant, and really good point about obviously promoting your the product owner within your team, and and now they're working as a senior product owner. It's brilliant because I think it's really inspirational for people who are already leaders and young minds who are looking to become leaders as well, that you have to take care of your team and obviously look in a direction where the whole team will progress. That will help you in your progression as well.
Yeah.
That is brilliant. So talking about leaders, Kripa, what I wanted to know was who inspired you Who was your childhood hero?
My friends are going to cringe about this, but Steffi Graf.
Wow.
Okay, my all-time favorite. Now, she's absolutely brilliant tennis player, golden Grand Slam and whatnot, great high achiever. But, what really I took from Steffi Graf is, as a tennis player, you're on the baseline on the tennis court. It's you against sort of the rest of the world. The mental, you need to train your mind to be able to really conquer your opponent.
Yes, 100%.
And the way she trained her mind to come back from no matter what situation, she always came back.
She did.
That was very, very, very inspiring. For me as a child, I was like, wow, the power of mind, this is what you could do. So Steffi Graf, always, right? And then Rahul Dravid, the wall,
the cricketer. For those who don't know.
For those who don't know, he's probably a very underrated cricketer in the world stage. But what Rahul Dravid brought to the team and to the world is you could be, extremely successful in your career, but you can still stay humble and grounded.
Right.
The power of just showing up and just persistent effort. No matter what, keep going. That's that is those two have just kind of really helped build my mindset in life. And of course, Dhoni as Captain Cool.
Yes, MS.
I mean, you can already see I'm a huge sports fan, and I think there was always more sports in our house than ever films or anything else.
Wow.
Always sports, and I always encourage children, and I have two teenagers in my house. I'm like, always have a sport. It's a okay, physical activity is one thing, but it's so good for your mind. It really builds your mental strength.
It does.
So sports be always part of your life. That's something that I would tell anybody, career or not career.
Sports.
Keep sports as a part of your life.
Yes, create a good balance as well.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So yes, what books and podcasts would you recommend to my audience, and why?
So I'm more of a book person than a podcast person. One of the books that I've been reading recently is Atomic Habits by James Clear. And what this book focuses on is how to implement change, not just in your life, in any walk of your life. Now, there's kind of three layers to change. So there's outcomes, there's behaviors, and then there is the identity. And what the book talks about is when change becomes part of your identity, that's when it's a lasting change. Some organizations might want to do small little changes which are, you will see outcomes really quickly, but it won't stick to them.
Right.
Because they don't focus on making it as part of their identity. So when you want to stick to change, it has to become part of your identity. Like if you want to get fitter, healthier, it's not about, oh, let me run a 5K and that's an outcome and that's one thing. You don't want to do it that way. If you want to live a healthy life, there's when that becomes part of your identity, you look at every single thing that you do. You spend correct time working out. You look at your food. You look at working hard so that you can be a part of all of it. So any change has to become part of your identity. And that's a very strong concept that comes from this book, Atomic Habits. I would highly recommend.
Perfect.
It's a slow read.
Okay.
It's something that you would always sort of go back and kind of refer a chapter and then come back and you're like, oh wow, that makes a lot of sense. It's a very simple book, but very, very deep. It kind of creates an identity for you.
Right. No, that's a great recommendation. I'll definitely give it a read myself. Thank you for that. And this brings me to my last question, Kripa. That what advice would you have, especially for young minds who are looking to pursue a career in IT, Obviously, for people who are looking to move abroad anywhere in the world, what challenges would they face, and what would be your advice for them?
Now, I don't give advice to people. I would suggest
Suggestions.
okay?
That's a perfect word.
And because each individual is so different,
Yes.
you don't want to make a judgment on what one person wants or the other. So what I would say is, young minds, bright minds, when they come on, they come in, thinking that they can bring a lot of change in a very short period of time. It happens, but for most of the folks, change is going to be slow.
Yes.
So focus on the learning, as I've always said. Focus on embracing the technology changes that happen. Do that. And you would usually hear people saying, you must change, you must challenge status quo, you must ask a lot of questions and all of that. It's not very easy to do that.
Yes.
But in your own way, make sure that you are understanding the why behind it. You might not be the loudest person in the room asking the questions. Make sure you understand the why.
Right.
Make sure you are very focused on learning. And one other thing would be patient.
Patience, yes.
Change doesn't happen overnight. As long as you're making small steps towards where you want to get to, you are in a good spot.
That's brilliant.
So not everybody would say that, but yes, be patient.
Patience is the key.
Patience is a virtue in this space, because there are some lucky people who might just their careers might turn around. They have a startup idea, they become millionaires, billionaires really quickly, and kudos to all of those people. But for your normal, for an ordinary person who's trying to live an ordinary life, patience is key.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where, when you focus on learning, you grow. Change, again, is the only constant in this world. So embrace change. If about 7-8 years ago it was all about data science, machine learning, those were the buzzwords, and now it is all about artificial intelligence. Technology will change.
Mm-hmm.
Let's embrace it, but always make sure we focus on why we're doing something and make small, tiny steps in moving forward. That's how I would suggest big approach any career opportunity in life.
That is brilliant. No, it inspires me as well. Thank you so much for sharing. And yes, thank you so much once again for joining me on this podcast episode, Kripa. It has been an absolute pleasure, and I'm pretty sure it's going to inspire a lot of people who will be watching this episode all across the world.
Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Divyan.